calling, your destiny. I have no regrets. Neither should you.
I need you to trust me. One last time.
All rise. The Supreme Court of Action Cinema is now in session. The Honorable Judge Barnacle B. Slaphammer presiding over the high-profile case of the People versus Mission Impossible. Final reckoning.
You may be seated. This court recognizes the weight of today's proceedings. After 28 years and 8 films, we're here to decide if Tom Cruise's so-called final mission provides the definitive closure this legendary franchise merits. Counselors, are you prepared to present your cases? Very well. Prosecution, your opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what we have before us today is not just another action film, but a betrayal of trust. Mission Impossible. Final Reckoning stands accused of multiple cinematic felonies. First degree. Runtime bloat. Nearly 3 hours of our lives we can never recover. Criminal neglect of narrative cohesion, with scenes so choppy they appear to have been edited with a butter knife during a submarine emergency. Grand larceny of expectations while mass promising a final reckoning while leaving the door conspicuously open for sequels, and perhaps most egregiously the unconscionable use of green screen for approximately half of Tom Cruise's stunts, a shocking departure from the practical authenticity that made this franchise legendary. The prosecution will prove that despite impressive moments, this so-called finale fails to provide the proper closure fans deserve after nearly 3 decades of dedication. Final should mean final, Your Honor, not final until box office receipts suggest otherwise.
Your Honor, esteemed members of the jury, when Tom Cruise ran across the rooftops of Paris in 1996, none of us could have imagined we'd be standing here today discussing the 8th installment of what has become the greatest action franchise in cinema history. Mission Impossible Final Reckoning is not on trial here today. What's on trial is our capacity to appreciate the extraordinary. My client delivers what few franchises ever could: a 3-hour masterclass in action. Filmmaking showcasing a 61-year-old star who still risks his life for our entertainment. Yes, the film has flaws, what creation doesn't, but the prosecution fails to mention the breathtaking 20-minute submarine sequence that rivals anything in James Cameron's repertoire. They neglect to mention Angela Bassett's emotionally resonant performance. They overlook the zero-G plane sequence that had audiences gasping in disbelief. The defense will demonstrate that Final Reckoning doesn't just meet the impossible standards set by its predecessors. It soars past them at Mach 10, with Tom Cruise hanging from the wings.
Prosecution, call your first witness.
The people call the villain to the stand. Please state your role in Mission Impossible Final Reckoning.
I am supposedly the main antagonist, with deep connections to Ethan Hunt's past that are meant to be emotionally resonant.
And how would you describe your impact on history?
Who cares? Seems to be the general audience reaction. I have no fleshed-out payoff, no satisfying back and forth. With Ethan,
Despite being pivotal to the emotional core of this final chapter?
despite that, yes, I'm basically a plot device in human form.
Thank you. The prosecution calls Runtime to the stand. Runtime, please tell the court your exact measurement.
I am approximately 180 minutes long.
And would you consider that appropriate for, as the defense put it, summer fluff popcorn blockbuster?
Well, when combined with Dead Reckoning, we're talking about almost 6 hours of content. What are we watching? A TikTok live stream of someone peeling potatoes.
And could you have been trimmed without losing essential content?
Absolutely. There's visible evidence of rushed editing throughout, suggesting substantial material was already cut. A tighter edit would have made the action more impactful.
And no further questions.
Defense, your cross-examination.
Runtime, isn't it true that epic conclusions often require additional time to properly resolve storylines?
That's fair, yes.
And didn't Avengers Endgame run over 3 hours to universal acclaim?
It did.
No further questions.
Defense, present your case.
The defense calls the submarine sequence to the stand. Submarine sequence, please describe what you bring to this film. I deliver 20 minutes of breathtaking James Cameron-esque underwater tension. I'm a standout sequence that rivals the iconic Aqua Cafe scene from the original 1996 film directed by Brian De Palma. Would you say you're unique within the franchise? Absolutely. I deliver palpable suspense with realism and authenticity. I'm original, tense, and showcase practical effects rather than CGI. The defense calls the zero-G plane sequence. Please tell the court about your contribution. I'm the sequence featured prominently on the poster. I deliver genuine tension, where Tom Cruise experiences zero gravity, grabbing different parts of the wing in ways that had audiences gasping, "Oh my God!" It's been compared to the wonder felt watching Peter Pan fly in Hook. Is it fair to say you exemplify what makes this franchise special? Without question, I showcase practical stunt work that no other action star or franchise would attempt. One more witness. The defense calls representation to the stand. Please explain how Final Reckoning handles diversity.
I'm presented subtly and organically. Hannah Waddingham commanding an aircraft carrier feels natural. Angela Bassett's president avoids forced masculinity. Even the submarine's ladyboy character is handled without cliches. There are no preachy, Marvel-style "you don't think a woman can do this" moments, just showing, not telling.
Thank you. No further questions.
Representation? Isn't it true that some of these characters appear and disappear conveniently, serving the plot rather than getting proper development?
There are moments where the ensemble feels bloated.
Thank you. No further questions.
Are there any further witnesses?
I'll testify.
Cruise, this is highly irregular, but proceed.
I've been running, jumping, climbing, swimming, diving, flying, and risking my life for this franchise for 28 years. At 61, I'm doing stunts that actors half my age wouldn't attempt. Yes, we use some green screen. Yes, the story has flaws, but this franchise has always been about pushing boundaries. We started as American James Bond, evolved past 007, and now sit somewhere between Bond and Fast and Furious. But we've always delivered great spectacle. And if anyone says different...
Thank you, Mr. Cruise. You may step down.
But I'm not finished explaining why.
You may step down, Mr. Cruise. Prosecution, your closing statement.
Your Honor, members of the jury, the evidence speaks for itself. Mission: Impossible Final Reckoning promised an epic conclusion but delivered a bloated, incomplete experience that values spectacle over substance. The editing is disjointed, leaving us with only the beginnings and endings of scenes, robbing us of the journey. The villain, supposedly crucial to Ethan Hunt's emotional arc, is forgettable. At nearly 3 hours, it demands too much of audiences while giving too little in return. Most damning of all, it's not truly final. It leaves the door conspicuously open for more sequels, betraying the very promise in its title. This isn't a heartfelt goodbye. It's a commercial calculation. The prosecution isn't saying Final Reckoning is a bad film. We're saying it fails to be the worthy conclusion this legendary franchise deserves. The mission, should you choose. To accept it is to recognize that sometimes even Tom Cruise falls short of the impossible.
Defense, your closing statement.
Ladies and gentlemen, what we witnessed in Mission Impossible Final Reckoning isn't just another action movie. It's the culmination of nearly 3 decades of cinematic innovation. Yes, it has flaws. Yes, the editing could be tighter. But focusing on these imperfections misses the forest for the trees. This film delivers multiple sequences that will be studied in film schools for generations. The submarine sequence, the plane sequence, the claustrophobic no-dialogue tension sequence. The prosecution complains about green screen, but forgets that Tom Cruise is 61 years old. The fact that he's doing any of these stunts is nothing short of miraculous. The Prosecution bemoans the runtime, yet would likely complain if storylines were left unresolved in a shorter cut. Most importantly, this film delivers what matters most: Angela Bassett's emotional depth, expertly crafted action, representation without preachiness, and Tom Cruise running like his life depends on it, because in these films it often does. Final Reckoning may not be perfect, but it is, as Stephen states, a brilliant actioner by Hollywood standards and part of the pinnacle of action cinema. If this truly is goodbye to Ethan Hunt, it has been, as Steffens conclude, an unforgettable.
Having heard the evidence and arguments from both sides, this court is ready to render its verdict in the case of the People versus Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. This court finds the defendant guilty of runtime excess, villain deficiency, and deceptive marketing regarding its finality. However, this court also finds substantial mitigating factors: the breathtaking submarine sequence, the zero-G plane stunts that defy belief, Angela Bassett's commanding performance, and the sheer audacity of a 61-year-old Tom Cruise still putting his body on the line for our entertainment. Therefore, I sentence Mission Impossible Final Reckoning as follows: it shall not be viewed in theaters at over $12 per ticket, even in IMAX. Instead, it shall be streamed when it hits platforms likely next month. Given how quickly films are released these days, viewers shall call their partner to join them in watching the movie in a cozy room, enjoy the freedom to pause for breaks, and appreciate that even a flawed Mission Impossible film remains a brilliant actioner by Hollywood standards. And finally, all viewers are ordered to rank the Mission Impossible films from favorite to least favorite in the comments section below. The judge begs that you like, share, and subscribe for more blockbuster court cases. This court is adjourned.